Chosen one, this is not a coincidence. This is not random. And this is not something you were meant to scroll past. March 3rd emergency. 4 minutes until the heavenly portal closes. Archangel Michael says your soulmate is trying to reach you, but a lie is blocking the way. Open this to see the truth. Yes, you read that correctly. There is a divine window open right now. A spiritual alignment that does not happen often. And according to Archangel Michael, this moment carries urgency. There is movement happening in the unseen realm. Someone connected to your destiny is trying to reach you, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. But there is a lie, a carefully planted lie, and it is standing like a wall between you and what heaven prepared. You may have felt it already, that strange pull in your chest, that sudden thought about someone you haven't spoken to in a long time, a dream that felt too real to ignore, that unexplained emotion that rose out of nowhere. These are not accidents. These are signals. And here is the shock. The portal that opened for you will not remain open forever. There is a time limit. 4 minutes in the spirit can mean a window of opportunity in your life that closes without warning. March 3rd carries a code, alignment, exposure, and divine correction. Archangel Michael is stepping forward as a protector and revealer in this hour. He is not coming to scare you. He is coming to uncover the lie. Because the truth is this: your soulmate has been thinking about you, praying about you, wondering if they misunderstood something, wondering if you walked away because you stopped caring. But what they do not know is that a false narrative hath been planted. Someone spoke something. Something was assumed. Something was misunderstood. Or maybe you told yourself a story to protect your heart, and that story became the lie. The lie says, they don't care. It's too late. They chose someone else. You missed your chance. You are not worthy. But Archangel Michael says that lie is not from heaven. Listen carefully. When divine connections are about to align, opposition rises, not because you are cursed, but because you are chosen. The enemy of your peace always attacks what carries destiny. March 3rd is marked in the spirit as a day of exposure. The lie that hath been sitting quietly between you and your soulmate is about to lose its power. But here is the warning. If you hold on to pride, fear, or silence, the portal closes without activation. 4 minutes. That does not mean panic. It means awareness. You must become conscious of what you have been believing. Ask yourself right now, what story have I been repeating in my mind? What assumption have I accepted without proof? What fear has been louder than faith? Archangel Michael is showing a vision, a door slightly open, light pouring through it. On the other side is reconciliation, clarity, and emotional peace. But standing at the doorway is a shadow labeled misunderstanding. That misunderstanding is thinner than you think. It looks strong, but it is fragile. It survives only because no one has challenged it. And this is where you come in. Heaven will not force your hand. The portal invites. It does not push. You may feel resistance right now. You may think, if this was meant for me, it would be easier. But divine timing is rarely comfortable. It stretches you. It tests your courage. It asks you to move before you feel fully ready. Your soulmate is not your idol. They are not your savior. But they are a companion aligned with your growth. And when two souls are meant to build something together, clarity must come first. Archangel Michael stands with a sword of truth, not to cut people out, but to cut deception away. The question is not whether the portal exists. The question is, will you respond before it closes? Something is shifting. You can feel it. A conversation is approaching. A message is near. A confession is forming. But if the lie remains unchallenged, both of you will stand on opposite sides of the same truth, and time will quietly move forward. This is your wake-up call. The next moments are critical, because what you understand now will determine what unfolds next. The lie must be named. The truth must be faced. And your heart must decide whether fear or faith leads. The heavenly clock is ticking, and what Archangel Michael reveals next will expose exactly where the blockage began and who planted it. Faithful one, pause your thoughts for a moment and breathe deeply, because what is unfolding now goes deeper than a simple misunderstanding. What is being revealed is the anatomy of the lie itself, how it was formed, how it was fed, and how it quietly built a wall between you and the one heaven aligned with your soul. The distortion did not begin with chaos. It began with silence, a message that was shorter than expected, a reply that came later than hope, a reaction that felt colder than intended. In that fragile space, your mind stepped in to interpret what your heart could not immediately understand. And once the mind writes a story, it defends it. Archangel Michael is showing that both of you experienced the same wound at the same time, but from different angles. You felt overlooked. They felt dismissed. You thought they were losing interest. I believed you were creating distance. Neither of you wanted to appear needy. Neither of you wanted to feel exposed. So both of you chose restraint instead of revelation. That is how destiny pauses. Not because love vanished. Not because the connection was false. But because fear whispered faster than faith could respond. The lie blocking your soulmate is not dramatic. It is subtle. It says they move on. It says they chose someone else. It says you were never that important. But Archangel Michael says this narrative was never confirmed. It was assumed. And assumptions are the soil where separation grows. There is something you need to hear clearly. Your soulmate has questioned their own decision to step back. They have replayed conversations in their mind. They have wondered if they misjudged you. They have felt your absence more than you realize. But pride stood between impulse and action. Pride is quiet but powerful. It protects the ego while starving the heart. March 3rd carries an energy of confrontation. Not confrontation with another person, but confrontation within yourself. The heavenly portal represents a divine opening for correction. A moment when heaven says, you can fix this now, with less resistance, if you choose humility. Archangel Michael stands not as a force of pressure but as a guardian of alignment. His sword is raised, not against your soulmate, but against the false belief that you were unwanted. That belief is the chain, and chains feel heavy even when they are invisible. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you interpreted silence as rejection? When was the last time you assumed distance meant disinterest? When was the last time you chose self-protection instead of clarity? These questions are not accusations. They are keys. Because the truth is this: your soulmate may also be receiving signs right now. They may be feeling restless. They may be sensing that something is incomplete. They may even be praying for confirmation that it is safe to return. But here's the spiritual law. Alignment requires participation. Heaven opens doors. Humans must walk through them. If you continue to wait for them to make the first move, while they are waiting for you to show a sign of openness, the portal slowly narrows. Not because God is punishing you, but because opportunity respects courage. Archangel Michael is revealing that the lie survives only in darkness. The moment you speak truth, even gently, even simply, the illusion begins to dissolve. A single honest sentence can dismantle months of confusion. There is grace right now. Grace for message. Grace for conversation. Grace for vulnerability. But grace is time-sensitive when destiny is involved. You may feel resistance rising in your chest as you hear this. That resistance is not wisdom. It is the echo of past hurt trying to prevent new risk. But understand this. Risk is the price of real connection. Safety without truth becomes loneliness. If this message is touching something real inside you, do not stay silent. Like this video to anchor this moment in your spirit. Share it so that others trapped in misunderstanding can awaken. Comment what you are sensing, because when you declare intention publicly, it strengthens your resolve privately. Subscribe to this channel and become part of a community that refuses to let fear write the final chapter. And if you believe divine timing brought you here, uplift this message so it reaches every heart standing at the edge of reconciliation. There is a reason you are hearing this before something happens. Because something will happen. A reminder. A memory. A name flashing unexpectedly. And when it does, you will recognize it as confirmation. The lie was never stronger than love. It was simply unchallenged. And what is about to be uncovered next will reveal who or what first planted the seed of doubt, and why its exposure is closer than you think. Precious heart, the moment of exposure has arrived, and what is being revealed now may shake you, but it will also set you free. Archangel Michael is stepping forward with clarity, and the truth he unveils is this. The lie blocking your soulmate was not random. It was planted during a moment when you were emotionally vulnerable. It entered when you were tired of waiting, tired of guessing, tired of hoping. In that weakened space, a single thought took root. Maybe this was never meant for me. That thought was never sent from heaven. It was born from disappointment, not destiny. There was a specific turning point. You may remember it now as you listen. A conversation that ended too abruptly. A plan that fell through. A shift in tone that felt colder than usual. That moment became the evidence your mind used to build a case. And once the case was built, you stopped looking for innocence. Archangel Michael shows that your soulmate experienced their own turning point at the same time. They sensed your withdrawal. They noticed your energy change. They felt the warmth fade slightly. And instead of asking what happened, they assumed they had already lost you. Two hearts misreading the same silence. This is the lie. Not betrayal. Not replacement. Not divine rejection. But mutual misinterpretation. And here is the deeper revelation. Someone else's words may have influenced your perception. Not necessarily malicious but careless. A friend's opinion. A relative's warning. A passing comment like, if they wanted you, they would act differently. That sentence may have sounded wise, but it did not know the full story. Archangel Michael is cutting that external influence away now. Because destiny is not decided by outsiders. Your soulmate is not perfect. Neither are you. But perfection was never the requirement. Alignment was. And alignment was present. It was simply clouded by fear and assumption. March 3rd carries the energy of unveiling. The heavenly portal represents a brief alignment between what is hidden and what is ready to be known. And what is being uncovered now is the simple, humbling truth. Both of you still care. Yes, even now. The feelings did not disappear. They were suppressed. They were protected. They were placed behind walls labeled self-respect and moving on. But beneath those labels, emotion remained alive. Archangel Michael says this is your opportunity to choose humility over pride, to choose curiosity over conclusion, to choose truth over the story you repeated to survive. You may be wondering, what if I reach out and I am wrong? But consider this. What if you stay silent and the window closes? What if the only thing separating you from clarity is one brave moment? The portal is not about forcing reunion. It is about dissolving illusion. When illusion dissolves, you are free, whether that leads to reconnection or peaceful closure. But without truth, you remain chained to questions. Archangel Michael's sword is not raised to fight your soulmate. It is raised to defend your destiny from distortion. He is guarding the doorway, waiting for you to decide whether to walk through with honesty. You do not need dramatic gestures. You do not need rehearsed speeches. Sometimes a simple message that says, "I realized I may have misunderstood something. Can we talk?" is enough to shift timelines. Do not underestimate the power of gentle courage. If this message is striking your spirit, respond in faith. Type "I choose truth over fear" in the comments if this is speaking directly to your heart. Blessing code 303 has just been released over those who refuse to let pride steal their divine alignment. Now listen carefully, because this mission does not stop with you. When you respond to truth, you help others do the same. If this message awakens something real inside you, this is your moment to act beyond yourself. As this truth is being exposed and illusions are falling, understand that every revelation shared here becomes a seed planted in someone else's darkness. When you give through super thanks, membership, or even through the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are watering souls who are standing at their own crossroads. The Lord declares, as you sow into light, light will return to you pressed down and overflowing. This is your moment to say, "I will be part of what heaven is building." Do not let hesitation silence obedience. Release your seed and watch how open heavens respond. Those who give into this mission will see clarity replace confusion in their own lives. Step into the harvest and act now. The next unveiling will reveal what happens if the portal is ignored, and why the timing of your response matters more than you think. Warrior of Destiny, what happens if the portal is ignored is not dramatic destruction. It is slow fading. And sometimes, slow fading hurts more than sudden endings. Archangel Michael reveals that when divine timing is postponed repeatedly, the connection does not immediately disappear. Instead, it becomes heavier. Conversations that once flowed easily begin to feel forced. Opportunities that once aligned naturally require excessive effort. The grace that made things simple becomes replaced with strain. This is not punishment. It is consequence. When heaven opens a window for truth and it is avoided, confusion settles deeper into the foundation. Both hearts begin to build new routines around the absence. You adapt to not speaking. They adapt to not reaching out. Over time, silence feels normal. And normal can be dangerous when it is built on misunderstanding. Archangel Michael is showing a vision of two paths. On one path, you act with courage. There is vulnerability, a little discomfort, perhaps even an emotional conversation. The clarity comes quickly. The air clears. The tension softens. Even if the outcome is not exactly what you imagined, there is peace because truth replaced assumption. On the other path, you do nothing. Days turn into weeks. Weeks into months. The thought of reaching out becomes more intimidating. The story in your mind becomes more solid. You start convincing yourself that you have healed, but deep down there remains a quiet what if. That what if is the echo of the portal closing without activation. Understand something powerful. Destiny is not forced. It is invited. Archangel Michael guards the invitation, but he will not drag you through it. The heavenly portal represents opportunity, a window where the spiritual and physical align more easily. When that window narrows, alignment is still possible, but resistance increases. You may feel hesitation rising even now. You may think, if it was meant to be, it will return naturally. But sometimes what is meant to be requires maturity. Your initiative. Divine love is not passive. It is participatory. Here is also another layer being revealed. If this connection is truly aligned, both of you are being tested in the same season. The test is not about worthiness. It is about readiness. Can you communicate honestly? Can you release pride? Can you handle vulnerability without running? Archangel Michael says the test is almost complete. You are closer to clarity than you realize. The energy around March 3rd is thinning, the veil between hidden feelings and spoken words. You may notice increased emotional sensitivity, old memories resurfacing with intensity. Even physical sensations like restlessness or sudden calm when thinking about them. These are signals of spiritual movement. But if you choose silence out of fear, the momentum slows. And when momentum slows, external circumstances begin to complicate what once was simple. New distractions appear. Responsibilities increase. Other people may enter the picture, not as replacements, but as diversions. Heaven does not compete. It waits. Archangel Michael's presence in this message is a sign of protection. He is not only guarding the connection, he is guarding your heart from future regret. Because regret is heavier than rejection. Rejection can be processed. Regret lingers. Imagine looking back months from now knowing you could have clarified everything with one brave step. Imagine realizing the only thing that stood in the way was fear disguised as dignity. The portal is not demanding perfection. He is asking for honesty. There is something sacred about being the one who says, I may have misunderstood. Can we clear the air? That sentence alone carries humility, strength, and maturity. It breaks cycles. It disarms tension. It creates space for truth to breathe. Archangel Michael is standing at the threshold, not with urgency rooted in panic, but urgency rooted in opportunity. He knows what alignment looks like when it is activated. He knows the peace that follows when illusion is removed. And he also sees the heaviness that follows when timing is ignored. You are not being rushed. You are being awakened. Right now, your heart knows the difference between fear and wisdom. Fear feels tight and defensive. Wisdom feels calm and brave, even if slightly nervous. Pay attention to the distinction. Something will shift soon. A sign will appear. A circumstance will open a natural doorway for conversation. When it does, remember this message. Remember that clarity was always within reach. The portal does not close with noise. It closes quietly. And what Archangel Michael is about to reveal next will show you how to recognize the exact moment when the doorway is fully open, so you do not miss it. Anointed One, the sign that the doorway is fully open will not shake the earth beneath your feet. It will steady your spirit. That is how you will know the difference between divine alignment and emotional impulse. Archangel Michael is revealing that when the heavenly portal activates at its fullest measure, your inner world shifts first. The confusion that once replayed endlessly in your thoughts begins to quiet down. The sharp edge of hurt softens. Instead of rehearsing what went wrong, you begin imagining what could be healed. That internal change is not weakness. It is preparation. You may wake up one morning and feel unexpected calm about the situation. Not indifference, but clarity. A sense that you no longer want to win the story. You want to understand it. That is a sacred signal. When pride loosens its grip, the portal widens. There will also be subtle external confirmations. You might see their name repeatedly in one day. You might hear a song tied to a shared memory. You may even feel an intuitive pull at a specific hour, as if something is nudging you to pay attention. These are alignment markers. They are not meant to control you, but to alert you. Archangel Michael warns you not to confuse anxiety with activation. Anxiety rushes you. It pressures you. It makes you feel as if you must act immediately or lose everything. Divine timing, however, feels steady. Even if there is urgency, it carries peace underneath it. When the doorway is fully open, communication will feel less complicated. The words you struggled to form will arrange themselves naturally. The fear of being misunderstood will decrease. And most importantly, you will sense openness from the other side. This is crucial. Alignment is mutual. If you reach out during the correct window, you may notice their tone is softer than you expected. Their responses may feel thoughtful rather than guarded. Even difficult topics can be discussed without escalation. That is because grace is active in that moment. But if you delay beyond that opening, resistance begins to rebuild. Ego regains strength. Doubt reclaims territory. The same message that would have been received warmly may later be filtered through suspicion. Timing does not change destiny's potential. It changes the ease with which destiny unfolds. Archangel Michael is also revealing that both of you have been undergoing refinement. Your earlier misunderstanding exposed insecurities that needed healing. Perhaps you struggled with vulnerability. Perhaps they struggled with consistency. Perhaps both of you feared appearing too invested. These weaknesses were not signs that the connection was false. They were lessons preparing you for something more mature. The portal exists because growth has occurred. But here is the hidden layer. The original delay was not just about misunderstanding. It was about readiness. If the connection had progressed without addressing those inner insecurities, it would have collapsed under pressure later. The pause allowed character to develop. And now the question becomes, have you grown enough to respond differently? If the same situation happened again, would you choose conversation over withdrawal? Would you ask questions instead of assuming answers? Would you express your feelings instead of expecting them to be guessed? Archangel Michael says this is the true test of the open doorway. Not whether you still feel love, but whether you are prepared to handle it wisely. When the portal is active, distractions may suddenly increase. You may feel unusually busy. Unexpected responsibilities may arise. Emotional fatigue may try to convince you to postpone clarity again. These are subtle tests of priority. Will you delay once more, or will you honor the moment? You are not being asked to chase. You are being asked to recognize alignment when it appears. Imagine standing before a door that slowly opens on its own. You are not required to force it. You are only required to step forward when the opening becomes clear enough. This step represents courage. It says, I value truth more than my comfort. Truth may lead to reunion. It may lead to peaceful closure. But it will always lead to freedom. Silence, however, only preserves confusion. Soon, there will be a specific confirmation. It may be a direct message. It may be a coincidental encounter. It may be a third party mentioning their name unexpectedly. When that happens, your spirit will feel recognition rather than panic. That recognition is your signal. Do not ignore it. Because what Archangel Michael is about to uncover next goes even deeper. It will reveal the spiritual root behind why this connection carries so much intensity. and why overcoming this final layer does not just unlock love, but activates a shared purpose that extends beyond both of you. Courageous spirit, the reason this connection has felt heavier than any other is because it was never casual. What Archangel Michael is unveiling now goes beyond romance. It touches purpose, calling, and spiritual alignment that extends further than your present understanding. There are relationships that enter your life for comfort. There are others that enter for lessons. And then there are rare connections that arrive to awaken destiny. Those connections do not feel light. They feel significant. They stir something ancient within you. They challenge your habits. They expose your fears. And they refuse to let you remain the same. This is why the misunderstanding hit so deeply. It was not just about losing a person. It felt like losing a future you had quietly imagined. It felt like something meaningful slipped away before it fully formed. That intensity was not attachment alone. It was awareness of potential. Archangel Michael reveals that when two souls carry complementary strengths, their union creates momentum. Momentum attracts resistance. The lie that blocked your path was not just about miscommunication. It was about interruption. If doubt could be planted early, the growth you were meant to experience together would be delayed. Consider this carefully. Why did small shifts in their energy feel magnified? Why did brief silence seem louder than it should have? Why did you replay certain conversations repeatedly? It is because this bond activated parts of you that are tied to purpose. When purpose is involved, emotions amplify. But amplification is not danger. It is depth. Your earlier pause forced both of you into reflection. You were confronted with your patterns. Maybe you realized you avoid difficult conversations when you fear rejection. Maybe you noticed how quickly you withdraw to protect your pride. They may have recognized their own inconsistency or hesitation in expressing vulnerability. These realizations were necessary. Archangel Michael says refinement often feels like separation before it feels like unity. When iron sharpens iron, friction occurs. That friction does not mean incompatibility. It means growth is happening. However, growth without courage leads nowhere. The portal reopening now is not random timing. It signals that both of you have matured enough to approach this connection differently. The same misunderstanding that once created distance can now become a bridge if handled with wisdom. But there is a final resistance that often appears at this stage. It is the fear of repeating history. You may think, what if we try again and it falls apart? That fear can be stronger than the original hurt. It convinces you that safety lies in staying apart. Archangel Michael warns that this fear disguises itself as logic. It sounds reasonable. It feels protective. But it is rooted in past pain, not present truth. If you allow yesterday's outcome to dictate today's opportunity, you will never experience transformation. Transformation requires risk. Here is something else being revealed. This connection influences more than just your emotions. It affects your direction. The conversations you have with this person inspire ideas, decisions, and growth that rippled into other areas of life. That is why the bond carries weight. It is not only about companionship. It is about expansion. When alignment is restored, clarity follows in unexpected places. Career decisions become clear. Confidence strengthens. Spiritual awareness deepens. That is why opposition targeted this connection early. But understand this clearly. Opposition does not mean impossibility. It means importance. Archangel Michael stands not as a force of pressure but as a guardian of purpose. He is urging you to step into the version of yourself that has learned from the past rather than hiding behind it. If you have developed better communication skills, use them. If you have gained emotional awareness, apply it. Do not shrink back into old patterns simply because they feel familiar. If this message is resonating with your spirit right now, anchor yourself in action. Like this video as a declaration that you are no longer allowing fear to control your decisions. Share it so others wrestling with purpose-driven connections can find clarity. Comment what you are sensing in your heart, because your words release intention into the atmosphere. Subscribe to this channel and become part of a movement that values truth over illusion. When you engage, you amplify a message that may be the confirmation someone else had been praying for. Before you drift away from this moment, remember this. The final barrier before alignment is almost always internal. It is not the response you fear most. It is your own vulnerability. What comes next will expose that final hidden resistance in detail. And once you recognize it, you will understand why this portal feels urgent, and why this time you must respond differently. Awakened One. The final resistance is not a dramatic obstacle standing in your way. It is a silent agreement you made with yourself when you felt disappointed. And until that agreement is broken, the portal cannot remain fully open. Archangel Michael is revealing that after the misunderstanding, you formed a quiet inner vow. It may have sounded subtle, almost reasonable. I will not care more than they do. I will not reach out first. I will not look foolish. These sentences may have felt empowering at the time. They felt like boundaries. But in truth, they were shields built from pain. There is nothing wrong with protecting your heart during a storm. The problem arises when you continue wearing the armor long after the storm has passed. You survived the disappointment. You adjusted. You redirected your focus. You trained yourself to appear unaffected. You told yourself that silence was dignity and distance was strength. And for a season, that mindset helped you cope. But now that growth has occurred, that same defense is limiting you. Archangel Michael shows that the armor you build has two sides. On one side, it prevents hurt. On the other, it blocks intimacy. It keeps you safe, but it also keeps you unseen. The reason this connection still stirs something inside you is because the bond touched a deeper layer of your being. It awakened vulnerability you had not allowed yourself to experience in a long time. When the misunderstanding happened, it did not just bruise your pride. It reopened older wounds you thought were already healed. Perhaps it reminded you of a time when you were overlooked. Perhaps it triggered memories of not being chosen. Perhaps it stirred the fear that if someone truly sees you, they might eventually walk away. Those older echoes amplified your reaction. Archangel Michael says the misunderstanding was the spark, but the emotional intensity came from unresolved history. And that is why the vow you made felt so necessary. But you are no longer operating from that old identity. You have gained awareness. You have learned emotional language you did not have before. You recognize your patterns more clearly. The version of you who felt powerless then is not the version listening now. Yet the vow remains, quietly influencing your choices. The final barrier is not whether your soulmate cares. It is whether you are willing to show that you care without demanding control. Control is seductive. It whispers, if I do not express too much, I cannot lose too much. It tells you that emotional restraint equals power. But in reality, controlled hearts rarely experience deep connection. They experience limited exposure. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian of courageous truth. He is not asking you to abandon wisdom. He is asking you to abandon fear disguised as wisdom. There is strength in saying, I pulled back because I was hurt. There is maturity in admitting, I may have assumed something without asking. These words do not weaken you. They demonstrate self-awareness. When one person removes their armor, it creates a ripple effect. The other person senses safety. Defensive energy lowers. Conversations shift tone. Walls that felt permanent begin to crack. But if both remain armored, the portal narrows again. This is why the timing feels urgent. The window is open because growth has occurred on both sides. The universe is aligning circumstances that make communication easier right now. If you wait until fear regains full control, the opportunity becomes heavier to access. Archangel Michael also reveals that your soulmate carries their own vow. They may have promised themselves not to chase. They may have convinced themselves that you move on. They too built defenses to survive the silence. The reunion of purpose-driven souls often requires one person to initiate vulnerability first. Not to beg, not to plead, but to model emotional courage. You are capable of that courage. The portal does not demand dramatic declarations. It responds to sincere clarity. A calm message, an honest question, a simple acknowledgement of what happened. These actions dismantle illusion. Remember, the lie that blocked this connection was never based on confirmed truth. It was built on assumption layered over pride. You now stand at a crossroads between the old vow and a new declaration. The old vow says, I will protect myself at all costs. The new declaration says, I am strong enough to handle whatever truth emerges. Only one of these paths leads to freedom. The heavenly portal is sensitive to authenticity. When pride dissolves, grace expands. When ego dominates, alignment contracts. This is not punishment. It is spiritual law. Soon, you will feel a clear inner prompting. It will not feel chaotic. It will feel steady. That prompting will be your moment to choose. What Archangel Michael is about to reveal next will guide you on exactly how to approach that moment, what mindset to carry, what energy to release, and how to speak in a way that ensures the past does not repeat itself. Set apart one. This is the delicate hour where wisdom must lead emotion. Archangel Michael is not only revealing what blocked this connection, he is instructing you how to move so that history does not repeat itself. The difference between restoration and relapse will be determined by your inner posture. If you approach this moment still carrying hidden expectation, you will unknowingly recreate pressure. Pressure feels like urgency mixed with demand. It sounds like calm words spoken with anxious undertones. It looks like vulnerability, but secretly it is a test. And tests awaken defense. Archangel Michael says you must empty your hands before you reach forward. Empty them of the need to be proven right. Empty them of the desire for instant reassurance. Empty them of the silent expectation that they must respond perfectly for you to feel secure. This is not weakness. It is spiritual strength. When you approach from a place of grounded clarity, you are not trying to fix everything in one breath. You are simply opening the door to truth. That alone dismantles the lie that has lingered between you. There is power in calm honesty. Imagine saying, with steady energy, that you have reflected. Imagine acknowledging that you may have misinterpreted something. Imagine expressing that clarity matters more to you than ego. These statements do not accuse. They invite. Archangel Michael reveals that invitation is stronger than accusation. Accusation hardens. Invitation softens. The old cycle was built on assumption layered with silence. The new path must be built on curiosity layered with patience. Curiosity says, help me understand. Patience says, I am not rushing this. When these two qualities combine, Walls begin to lower naturally. You must also prepare for emotion. When clarity begins to surface, feelings long buried may rise quickly. Relief may mix with regret. Warmth may blend with vulnerability. Do not panic when emotion appears. It is evidence that the connection still carries significance. But remain balanced. Vulnerability does not mean overexposure. It means measured honesty. You can share your perspective without oversharing pain. You can express care without surrendering self-respect. Archangel Michael emphasizes that emotional maturity is not about hiding feeling, but about regulating it. There is another critical detail. Your tone carries frequency. Even a written message transmits energy. If you type from frustration, frustration will be felt. If you write from calm, calm will be received. That is why inner alignment must come before outer action. Take time to center yourself. Breathe. Release old narratives. Approach the conversation as a new chapter, not a continuation of the old one. Archangel Michael also warns against rehearsing outcomes. If you imagine worst-case scenarios repeatedly, your body will respond as if they are already happening. That tension will influence your words. Instead, enter the moment open to possibility. The heavenly portal responds to sincerity, not strategy. You are not stepping forward to secure a guarantee. You are stepping forward to eliminate illusion. Once illusion dissolves, you are free, whether that leads to deeper union or peaceful closure. But without truth, uncertainty lingers like unfinished business. There may be a pause after your first step. Do not interpret that pause as rejection. Sometimes the other person needs time to process. Growth may have occurred on their side too, but vulnerability still requires courage. Stand steady in your growth. Type "I release pride" and choose peace in the comments if you are ready to move from assumption into understanding. Blessing Code 818 has just been released over those who choose humility over ego and clarity over confusion. As you declare peace over pride, recognize that this message is not reaching you alone. There are countless souls standing at similar crossroads, waiting for confirmation that courage is worth it. When you give through Super Thanks, join membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, you are planting seeds into hearts that are desperate for clarity. The Lord says, when you sow into good soil, you will reap in due season. This is your moment to say, I will help carry this light further. Do not hesitate when your spirit is stirred to act. Release your seed as a prophetic response to truth. Those who invest in awakening will themselves walk in greater revelation. Step forward now and become part of this harvest. The final unfolding is near. What remains to be revealed will determine not only how you speak, but whether this connection steps into purpose or fades into another almost story. Elect one. The final unveiling is not about emotion alone. It is about assignment. Archangel Michael is revealing that this connection has always carried more than affection. It carries influence over your direction, your growth, and even your future decisions. There are relationships that enter your life simply to teach temporary lessons. They arrive, stir your feelings, and leave once the lesson is complete. But this connection did not feel temporary. Even in separation, it lingered. Even in silence, it echoed. That lingering was not weakness. It was significance. You tried to reason your way out of it. You told yourself it was attachment. You attempted distraction. You focused on other priorities. Yet something about this bond refused to dissolve completely. That is because the connection was not only emotional, it was catalytic. Archangel Michael reveals that when two people are aligned in potential purpose, their presence accelerates each other's growth. Conversations spark ideas. Differences expose blind spots. Challenges stretch maturity. That acceleration can feel overwhelming if both individuals are not ready. The earlier misunderstanding happened during a stage when both of you were still reacting from unrefined patterns. You may have withdrawn instead of clarifying. You may have hesitated instead of reassuring. Neither of you intended harm, yet both of you protected yourselves in ways that created distance. That distance became the breeding ground for assumption. But now something has shifted. You have gained emotional language you did not possess before. You recognize triggers more quickly. You are less impulsive. You have learned that silence does not equal strength and that pride does not equal power. This growth was necessary. Archangel Michael says the delay was not denial. It was development. If this connection had continued without that growth, unresolved patterns would have multiplied. Small disagreements would have escalated. Insecurity would have disguised itself as control. Instead, the pause forced introspection. And here is the deeper truth. Your soulmate has undergone their own refinement. They have confronted their fears. They have recognized their avoidance patterns. They too have matured in ways you cannot yet see. The reopening of this portal is evidence that both timelines have progressed. But you must understand something critical. Purpose-driven connection requires stewardship. It is not enough to feel intensity. You must manage it with wisdom. Intensity without maturity leads to chaos. Intensity guided by growth leads to construction. Archangel Michael is showing that your future decisions may be influenced by this reconnection. Opportunities may arise because of conversations you have. Confidence may expand because of mutual support. Even your spiritual clarity may deepen when you operate together in alignment. That is why the resistance was so strategic. If confusion could separate you early, the ripple effect of unity would be delayed. Yet unity does not mean dependency. It means partnership rooted in self-awareness. You must approach this moment understanding that reconnection is not about returning to the past. It is about building from a stronger foundation. If old habits resurface, withdrawal, assumption, silent testing, the cycle will attempt to repeat. But if you consciously choose a new pattern, everything changes. The final unveiling is this. The lie that blocked your soulmate was allowed temporarily because both of you needed to outgrow the version of yourselves that would have mishandled the blessing. Read that again in your spirit. You were not rejected. You were being prepared. Now you stand at a crossroads. The prepared version of you can step forward with calm clarity. The fearful version can retreat into analysis and hesitation. Only one of these paths leads to evolution. Archangel Michael urges you to release overthinking. Overthinking creates scenarios that do not exist. It convinces you that disaster is more likely than resolution. It keeps you rehearsing conversations instead of having them. A portal does not require perfection. It requires authenticity. If the outcome is reunion, let it be rooted in maturity. If the outcome is closure, let it be rooted in peace. Either way, truth liberates you from the weight of wondering. Relief will be the confirmation that you acted correctly. Relief means illusion dissolved. Relief means growth prevailed over fear. This is not just about love. It is about identity. When you choose courageous clarity, you break a pattern that may have followed you across multiple relationships. You prove to yourself that you can handle vulnerability without collapsing. That realization strengthens every area of your life. Archangel Michael has revealed the lie. He has exposed the hidden vow. He has explained the purpose behind the delay. Now the final chapter approaches. What comes next will seal this entire process. ensuring that no dissection rises between you again, and that whatever unfolds is built on unshakable truth. Resolute one. This is where everything must be sealed with wisdom. Archangel Michael is not only concerned with exposing the lie, he is determined to ensure that once truth is restored, deception never quietly returns. Revelation without discipline leads to repetition, but revelation followed by intentional action creates lasting transformation. The first safeguard is conscious communication. The earlier separation did not happen because love was absent. It happened because silence grew where clarity should have lived. Small uncertainties were left unspoken. Minor disappointments were interpreted instead of discussed. Over time, imagination replaced conversation. If this connection moves forward, you must commit to addressing confusion early. When something feels unclear, speak gently but directly. Do not allow your mind to build a narrative before you have evidence. Assumptions feel convincing, but they are rarely accurate. Archangel Michael emphasizes that timely response prevents distortion. That does not mean reacting emotionally the moment you feel triggered. Reaction is impulsive. Response is reflective. Reaction is fueled by ego. Response is guided by maturity. You have grown enough now to know the difference. The second safeguard is emotional transparency. In the past, you may have tested them silently. You may have withdrawn slightly to see if they noticed. You may have measured their care by subtle signals rather than clear dialogue. Those strategies are rooted in insecurity. You are no longer that version of yourself. If something matters to you, say it calmly. If something hurt you, express it respectfully. Transparency builds safety. Safety nurtures trust. Trust suffocates deception before it can take root again. Archangel Michael is also cautioning you about external interference. Not everyone understands purpose-aligned bonds. Some people speak from their own unresolved wounds. Others project their disappointments onto your situation. Advice may sound protective, but if it is rooted in fear, it will amplify fear. Discernment is essential. Listen, but do not surrender your inner clarity to outside opinions. The portal reopened because you matured internally, not because external voices approve. There is another layer of protection that cannot be ignored: personal accountability. Even in aligned connections, triggers will arise. You may feel moments of insecurity. They may feel moments of doubt. When those moments surface, pause before projecting blame. Ask yourself what is truly being activated. Is it something happening in the present? Or is it an echo from the past? Archangel Michael reveals that emotional self-awareness is the strongest shield against recurring cycles. When you take responsibility for your triggers, you prevent minor tension from escalating into major conflict. You must also guard your independence. A healthy connection enhances your life. It does not replace your identity. Maintain your spiritual practices. Maintain your personal goals. Maintain your friendships and responsibilities. Unity thrives when two whole individuals choose partnership, not when two incomplete individuals seek rescue. Now anchor this revelation in action. Like this video as a declaration that you will not allow silence to create separation again. Share it so that others trapped in misunderstanding can awaken to clarity. Comment what lesson has impacted you the most, because speaking it solidifies it within you. Subscribe to this channel and become part of a community committed to growth, truth, and spiritual alignment. And remain attentive, because the final declaration that seals this entire journey is approaching, and you will want to witness it fully. The final safeguard is gratitude. Gratitude keeps humility alive. When clarity replaces confusion, appreciate it. When communication flows freely, honor it. When peace settles between you, recognize it as a gift. Gratitude prevents pride from reclaiming control. Archangel Michael stands as guardian not only of reunion but of renewal. Renewal means you do not rebuild from fragments of misunderstanding. You build from fresh understanding. It means you refuse to reintroduce habits that once fractured connection. Growth is ongoing. Even mature hearts will disagree at times. Even aligned souls will miscommunicate occasionally. The difference now is that you possess tools you once lacked. You know how to pause instead of react. You know how to clarify instead of assume. You know how to apologize without losing dignity. These tools are your shield. If reconnection unfolds, allow trust to rebuild gradually. Do not rush to define everything immediately. Let actions confirm words over time. Stability is more powerful than speed. And if clarity reveals that the connection served its purpose and was meant to teach rather than remain, accept that truth with peace. The portal's mission is complete when illusion dissolves, regardless of the final outcome. You stand at the threshold of completion. The lie has been dismantled. The hidden vow has been exposed. The approach has been instructed. The safeguards have been established. Now comes the final blessing, the closing declaration that seals your courage and determines how heaven responds to the choice you make next. Chosen vessel, this is the hour where everything you have heard must become something you live. Archangel Michael is no longer speaking about exposure alone. He is speaking about establishment. What has been revealed must now be rooted so deeply inside you that no future misunderstanding can uproot it. The urgency you felt at the beginning of this message was necessary to wake you up. The lie had to be confronted. The vow of self-protection had to be exposed. The strategy for approaching truth had to be explained. But now, the final stage before blessing is internal sealing. Sealing begins with ownership. Archangel Michael reveals that true maturity is not proven by what you say in a single emotional moment. It is proven by what you repeatedly choose when feelings fluctuate. You may feel strong today and uncertain tomorrow. You may feel confident one hour and vulnerable the next. Sealing means your commitment to clarity does not shift with your mood. This is where many people fail. They receive revelation, but they do not embody it. You are being called higher. The misunderstanding that once separated you was allowed because both of you were still operating from unexamined triggers. Silence felt safer than vulnerability. Distance felt safer than dialogue. Pride felt safer than possibility. Now you see those patterns clearly. Seeing them is powerful, but dismantling them permanently requires discipline. Archangel Michael said discipline in relationships looks like consistency in truth. It means you refuse to let small discomfort grow into silent narratives. It means you check your assumptions before you check their loyalty. It means you take responsibility for your emotional reactions instead of assigning blame prematurely. This is strength refined by awareness. There is also a sacred surrender required at this stage. You must release attachment to controlling how this story ends. Control is subtle. It hides behind phrases like "I just want reassurance" or "I just need certainty." But certainty is not always granted immediately. Faith and maturity fill the space where certainty is absent. If you step forward and speak with honesty, and the response is slower than expected, will you remain grounded? If clarity arrives but it challenges your expectations, will you remain steady? Sealing means you trust your growth more than you fear temporary discomfort. Archangel Michael is also highlighting the importance of forgiveness as an ongoing posture, not a one-time decision. The human heart has a tendency to revisit old wounds when new tension appears. If a minor disagreement arises in the future, Your mind may attempt to reference the old misunderstanding as evidence. That is how cycles restart. You must consciously refuse that pattern. When something new arises, treat it as new. Do not merge it with history. Do not allow yesterday's pain to narrate today's conversation. This is how you prevent dissection from rebuilding itself. There is something profound happening in your identity through this process. You are transitioning from reactive to responsive. You are transitioning from guarded to grounded. You are transitioning from needing validation to embodying self-assurance. That shift changes everything, even beyond this connection. Archangel Michael reveals that when you master clarity in one significant bond, you alter the trajectory of all future relationships. You stop tolerating ambiguity. You stop participating in silent tests. You stop chasing emotional breadcrumbs. You begin operating from a place of calm authority. Calm authority does not shout. It does not beg. It does not manipulate. It simply stands in truth. This sealing also requires you to recognize your own worth independent of outcome. If reconnection flourishes, it is a blessing. If closure arrives, it is direction. Either way, your value remains untouched. That understanding protects you from desperation. Desperation distorts communication. Security purifies it. Archangel Michael stands now not as a warrior exposing lies, but as a guardian affirming growth. The sword that once cut through illusion is lowered because illumination has already taken place. The emergency that once demanded urgency asserted its purpose. But sealing requires declaration. You must internally declare that you are finished with cycles built on assumption. You must declare that you will confront confusion quickly. You must declare that vulnerability will no longer frighten you into retreat. This declaration shifts the spiritual atmosphere around you. It closes loopholes where dissection once entered. It anchors you in a higher standard of connection. Soon, movement will follow your decision. Conversations will either deepen or conclude. Emotions will either strengthen or settle. But whatever unfolds will feel lighter than before. Relief is the evidence that sealing has occurred. You are not the same person who entered this message. You are stronger, clearer, steadier. And now you are ready for the final release, the blessing that marks the end of urgency and the beginning of a season governed by truth. The next words will not warn you. They will commission you. Beloved child of destiny, the emergency has ended, and the truth now stands where confusion once ruled. The heavenly portal that felt urgent at the beginning of this journey did not open to create fear. They opened to awaken you. And now, as this final declaration is released, Archangel Michael stands not in warning, but in blessing. The lie that blocked your soulmate has been exposed. It was never absolute rejection. It was never confirmed abandonment. It was assumption layered with pride, silence layered with fear. And you have outgrown all of it. This is the true miracle. You were not called here merely to save a connection. You were called here to elevate your standard, to become someone who chooses clarity over confusion, someone who chooses courage over ego, someone who chooses communication over silent narratives. Archangel Michael declares that when you confront deception with truth, heaven responds with acceleration. If you step forward with honesty, peace will follow you. If reconnection unfolds, it will be rooted in maturity, not fantasy. If closure unfolds, it will be clean, not haunting. Either outcome becomes blessing when truth leads it. Understand this clearly. The portal closing is not loss. It is completion. The urgency existed to move you out of passivity. Now that you are awakened, urgency is no longer required. Awareness has replaced it. You will notice something different within yourself after this moment. You will feel steadier, less reactive, less desperate for validation, more confident in your ability to handle whatever response comes. That confidence is evidence of growth. Archangel Michael seals this transformation with a charge. Never again allow silence to define your worth. Never again allow assumption to replace dialogue. Never again let fear disguise itself as dignity. You have been refined, and refinement carries authority. If this connection blossoms, nurture it with the tools you have learned. Communicate early. Forgive quickly. Remain transparent. If this connection closes peacefully, carry the wisdom forward and recognize that you are now prepared for something even greater. Nothing was wasted. The misunderstanding was a classroom. The separation was a mirror. The urgency was a catalyst. And now, the blessing is the confirmation. Type "I walk in truth" and alignment in the comments if you receive this sealing over your life. Blessing code 1224 is now activated for those who choose clarity over illusion and courage over fear. As this portal closes and truth seals your path, hear this clearly. Every revelation you received here is like breaking through someone else's darkness. When you give through super thanks, step into membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a video. You are fueling a river of awakening that reaches souls trapped behind their own walls of misunderstanding. The Lord declares, as you release your seed, I will open the windows of heaven over you. This is your moment to say, I will stand with this mission and help truth travel further. Do not scroll past obedience when your spirit is stirred. Plant into this ground and watch alignment return to your own house. Those who sow into clarity will reap peace in their relationships. Act now and seal your partnership with this work of light. The emergency has passed. The truth has been spoken. The blessing has been released. Walk forward unafraid.